Welcome back. So today we are going to do Sex in the City. So sorry for the delay. With HBO Max switching to Max and all of the account information having to be switched over and stuff, it was a little hiccup. It wasn't just that though. I was a little behind, so I'm definitely going to work on that and get better. But so we are finally here talking about Sex in the City season 1 episode 1 pilot. So this show definitely gave us a lot to work with. They were getting it going. So let's just get into it. We are introduced to Carrie Bradshaw by narration at first. So she starts telling this story about this New York love story, if you will. It was an English writer from London and a banker. And so they meet at an art gallery in New York, and they fall in love. It was like love at first sight. They're going on these dates. He's taking her out to expensive restaurants. They're doing all kind of stuff. He takes her to go see this townhome that he saw in the paper. Remember that? Newspapers? Okay. He takes her to go see this house that he saw in the paper, and they go like look at it and everything. And he's like, "You want to meet my parents?" Like, "Yeah, girl, I love you." I mean, he didn't say it in the thing, but you did everything but that. Literally everything but that. Next thing you know, he calls this lady and tells her like, "Oh, my family came down with a cold. I won't be able to make it." What? When? Since when? Since when? Like, what are we talking about, cold? So he's like, "Oh, they won't be able to make it. I'll call you and let you know." He never calls her back. She calls him after like he ghosted her basically. And he's just like, "Oh, I've been so busy and blah, 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 blah." Basically, he got cold feet. He got cold feet and he ghosted her, which was really whack because it's like, why? Like, you were doing all this. I didn't even, and to me, like, watching it, it wasn't even just like she was being so pushy. She was just going with the flow. Like, okay, I like you, you like me. You asked me out on a date. I think you're cute. Yeah, let's go on a date. You asked me to look at a townhouse with you. Sure, let's look at a townhouse. You don't want doing all this, and now here you come talking about, no, like, that's crazy. So he ghosted her, and she's just like, "I don't get it. In London, if we are looking at townhouses, that's a good thing." And it's just like, yeah, but it's not, boo. It's really not, like, because he's gone. Like, I think that was probably just one of those, like, when people always be like, "Oh, they got scared because it was going too fast." You're the one, you're the connector. You were moving too fast. You're the one that was ready to introduce them to your family after like, what, 6 months? Like, be for real. Okay, 6 months is not an unreasonable amount of time before meeting the family, but you were moving like lightning speed. Now all of a sudden you want to cancel it. So that kind of sends Carrie into her pursuit of like finding out information for her next column. So she writes a blog. She writes a sex column in the paper. And so she's going around asking her friends different things like, why are there so many great unmarried women, but there aren't that many great unmarried men? Like, what is tea? So she's getting all this like advice and like these opinions from her friends, males and females. And some things are just so outlandish. One of it was the mid-30s power flip. And they was basically saying, or I don't even think it was mid-30s. I just think it was like 30s power flip. And basically, like, women control the relationships in like their 20s, and then when they get in the 30s, the men kind of like hold all the coins and hold all the cards for the relationship, and now like the ball is in their court. So now it's like, we have the power now and we don't want to do what you say. And it's just like, okay. Like, you're not alone either, but okay, sure. So that was that. Then it was like, Miranda. We're introduced to Miranda, the power attorney. She's unmarried. Mind you, all of her friends, if you haven't seen Sex in the City, here it is. All of the friends in the group, unmarried. They all they have some of their values are like the same and their beliefs are like the same. Some of them are drastically different, and we'll get into that later. So Miranda shares these stories about like women who did, you know, what everybody suggests that they do. Oh, just have fun, just date, just blah, blah, blah. She shared a story about this girl who just dated and had fun and then woke up one day and she was 40 and couldn't get a man and couldn't hold down her job and had to move back in with her mom in Wisconsin. Like, that is so sad. I don't like it. I don't like that part of the story. No. So that was the story that Miranda shared. All the other men were just like, women should just stop like setting their standards so high. Like, why don't they just settle for a fat man? Like, why don't they just date the fat men and the poor men? And then here comes Miranda. I've dated the fat men, I've dated the poor men, I've dated the ugly men, and they're just as mean and just as rude, and they're not better than the good looking, financially stable men. So it's like, what's the point? Like, why should I settle if y'all are gonna be the same? Regardless whether you fat or whether you great looking, you're not. What's the point? It's not getting any better. So then they go on to Miranda's birthday. So it was Miranda's 30-something birthday. And they're having it at this restaurant. Now we're introduced to two more characters. We're introduced to Charlotte and Samantha. So Charlotte it's hilarious how we are introduced to, I've always felt like Carrie and Miranda were the closest out of the foursome. And I felt like Charlotte and Samantha were like the furthest. Like, they honestly, if it wasn't for like the other two friends, they probably would have nothing to do with each other. So it's so interesting how like we're introduced to the friends at the same time. So we're introduced to Charlotte and Miranda, completely different. Charlotte is like goody two shoe, play, you know, by the books. Oh, I forgot Charlotte's advice, which is hilarious, and I can't forget to mention this. Sorry, we're gonna Charlotte's advice throughout the beginning, you know, getting everybody's take on relationships. Play by the rules. Shut your mouth. That is how you get wed, okay? That's how you land you a smooth operator. Shut your mouth and play by the rules. We'll see later in the season how well that worked out for her. No tea, no shade. But not so well. So anyway, fast forward back to Miranda's birthday. So Charlotte is goody two shoes, so by the book. Oh, I'm a lady. Oh, I'm, you know, all this kind of stuff. A lot of times she just makes you want to just roll your eyes, because it's just like, girl, what are you talking about? Shut up. Samantha, on the other hand, very free-spirited, very loosey-goosey, not trying to be tied down by anybody, doesn't care if she's single and well into her 30s. Like, she's not even looking for that. She just wants to have fun. She just wants to live life. So that's why I'm saying it's hilarious how they're both introduced at the same time, and Carrie and Miranda are kind of introduced like near each other, because it's like, oh, okay. The different kinds of friendships. So after that, this thing where I guess depending on, it's a questionnaire basically, and you fill it out, and that's the type of like woman, female archetype that you have. And I feel like a lot of these the women in the group, they definitely like kind of portray what the article is saying. So like, for example, just kind of off the top of my head, I gave Carrie as the lover, Samantha as the siren, Charlotte the maiden, maybe the lady, and Miranda the boss. And to me, that kind of just made sense. You know, Miranda's kind of like, not workaholic, but she's really like, my career is what really means something to me, X, Y, and Z. Samantha's a siren. She's hot. I want to do what I want to do. You know, very like sexually liberated. So Carrie is too, but more romantic. Like, she's very into the lovey-dovey. She still wants to be married. She still wants to have like that whole fairy tale type, but she's also liberated sexually. So And Charlotte, I just told y'all about Charlotte. She's a maiden. No, I'm just kidding. but she's how she is, child. So after that, we get introduced to Stanford. Stanford is Carrie's really good friend. He makes me laugh. I love Stanford. I just think he's so cute. And he gives his like take on of like relationships, especially heterosexual relationships. His take on it was heterosexual relationships are what are closeted now. It's no longer, if you really want to find true love, you know where it's at. So this leads to us running into Kurt Harrington in the restaurant. So Kurt Harrington and Carrie have a past, tumultuous past, and Stanford is like, no, girl, you're not doing it. Like, you know, that friend that's like, you know, when it's that one person that you just always like are gonna have a thing for, just maybe not always have a thing for, but you always like, if when you see him, you're just like, still look good. Stanford is like, no, we're not doing it. Nope. Find somebody else. Get somebody else to do it. Not wiping your tears after this again. So they see Kurt Harrington in the restaurant, and so Stanford is like, no, girl. She's like, oh, of course not. I'm so over him. Like, I'm not even gonna, no. Right. So, she goes over to, so she walks over to Kurt trying to act like, oh, we just ran into each other. I had no idea you were here. Oh my God, you look so good. So they set up this whole romantic rendezvous. Not romantic. They set up a fling in the middle of the afternoon, a nooner. They set up a nooner, and you know, they do their thing, whatever. And it's she tells Stanford the whole time, it's just an experiment. And at the time, I didn't know what she was talking about, but after, I knew what she was talking about. She basically, he had played her in their past, and she wanted that get back. So she got it back, and you know, she got hers and was like, I'm out. And he was upset. He was irritated. He was like, I mean, he didn't do anything like in the moment, but he was just like, really? Like, she's like, oh, I have to go back to work. And he was like, really? Like, you gotta leave like right now? And she's like, yeah, I gotta go. And he was irritated. Like, what do you mean? Like, I just blessed you. And she's like, thanks. And was out. And that really like, because she felt so good after that. She was just like, yes, like I finally did something for me. I was selfish in that act, and I feel so good. Like, he's so upset right now. Like, I feel great. And low-key, yes, like sometimes you really just be wishing, like, you know what, I'm gonna just do this. I'm gonna just be you for a second and see how you like it. And that's basically what she did. She just pulled a him, and he didn't really care for it in the moment, but we're gonna get back to that. So as she's walking down the street, she runs into him down the street and is just like glowing because she like did what she needed to do for her. She runs into the most irritating man on the show. No, I take that back. He's not the most irritating man, but he is right up there. Mr. Big. I don't even want to say his real name right now, but his nickname on the show is Mr. Big. Y'all know who I'm talking about, so it really is no need. Mr. Big runs into him on the street. First time she ever meets him, like, oh my gosh, wow, hi. And she's smitten, and he thinks she's cute. Cool. But they don't really do much, you know. He's just like kind of, you know, I think she tripped or something, like, or bumped into him or whatever, and he's just helping her, like, whatever. Her dress is about to fall apart. She's tripping all over her heels on the New York sidewalk and looking a fool in front of him. And I think that kind of foreshadows oh my God, that kind of foreshadows what's going to happen. So, to me, it just kind of foreshadowed, like, her acting all like ditzy and tripping all over herself, and just kind of, to me, it just kind of foreshadowed like what is going to happen in their situationship moving forward. Sorry to spoil it. The show's been out since the dawn of time, so if you ain't seen it, I'm sorry. But so anyway, moving on from Big, because trust me, later we will talk enough about him. Skipper is so sweet and so cute. I think he's so adorable. He is interested in Miranda and wants Carrie to like make this date happen between him and Miranda. He wants to go out with her. Skipper, don't do that. Like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with, like, is that a thing? Nice guys going after like super mean women. I mean, Miranda's not like super mean, but she's just really like, she be bitter with a lot of stuff. And to me, I just thought Skipper was like so, just too sweet like for it. You know what I mean? To me, even Steve is like too sweet. We'll get into Steve later. So they go on the date. And she is just going at it like a cannon. Oh, I think men are intimidated by pretty girls because they didn't like, girl, what are you talking about? We're on a date. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? And so, you know, Skipper is trying to give his 2 cents, even though you can tell, like, this is making him awkward. Like, this is not first date conversation. What are we talking about? And so whatever he says, she's just like, oh, did you mean this? Am I not pretty enough? Am I not interesting enough? No, you're not. Considering the fact that this is what we're talking about on our first date. No, Miranda, this is not interesting. This is not giving interesting. What it's giving is bitter. And who, like, Skipper, that's what you want? Okay, child. So they on a, you know, thing, like, on a little date. I think at Chaos. They was at Chaos. Yeah, they were at Chaos. So, Skipper and Miranda and Charlotte and Samantha, and then turns out Kurt, and then turns out Big were all at Chaos. All together. Not like together, but they were all there, right? So Carrie runs into Kurt. Can you believe that? Carrie runs into Kurt at the club at Chaos, and she's just like thinking like, oh yeah, there's a guy that I slayed. And he's like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, oh, that was cool. You know, I was mad for a bit, but now you finally get it. Like, this is what I've been wanting all along. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you know, a thing with no strings attached. Like, I just want to have casual sex with you. I don't want to be in a relationship. And he's like, you finally get it. Like, so I wasn't even, like, at first I was mad, but now I'm not even really tripping for real. Backfired. She no longer feels player. She's like, oh, like, you don't care. You're like, you're not mad about that. She didn't ask him, of course, but she, you know, because clearly he's not. And he's like, yeah, so I can call you whenever, you know, I want to get down. You call me whenever you want to get down. This is good. This is going to be great. And she's like, yeah, no, it's not. Nope. Face on the floor, cracked, all that. Like, she's not having a good time. It's not fun no more. Because what she thought she did, she did it, maybe it lasted like 5 minutes. And then he like really thought about it and was like, no, but this is great. You can't win for losing. Like, yeah, it's just, so she's just like, man, whatever. I never knew, like, I'm going back and I'm watching this, I never knew that Samantha saw Big in the club and wanted him, like tried to seduce him. Child, he was not going for it. Big was like, no, lady, get away from me. Big was like, no, boo, I don't want it. No. You know what I think? I think Big doesn't like being chased. I think he likes doing the chasing. I think he thinks, you know, this type of guys that kind of like fancy girls for sport. Like, oh, I'm going after the baddest because I want to see if I can do it, or I'm going after, you know, this pretty girl here, this pretty girl there, because it's like collecting Super Mario rings. That's what I honestly think. Like, because he was not turned on at the, I mean, he could have just not found her attractive, but he was not into Samantha. He's like, no, like, no thanks. I'm good. So I really think that that's his thing. Like, if he's not chasing you, he don't want it. Like, move, say, get thee behind me. He don't want no parts. I'm gonna tell you this, Charlotte looked bad in that dress at the gala with Duncan. Like, that dress was all of that. But let me tell you whose face was cracked on the floor when she caught herself trying to save herself and I have to wake up early in the morning. Duncan said, oh, okay, taxi, take me to Chaos because I gotta go. I gotta get me some tonight. She said, where are you going? You're on the Chaos? He said, listen, this was cute. This was all cute and everything, but just to pull Samantha. Duncan and Samantha are back at his place doing the dough. Can you believe that? It's a small world after all. Quick facts. I love Carrie's hair in this season. I think she keeps it for like the whole season. Love her hair. I love the short, like heavy but short kind of. It's cute. Charlotte is gonna get on my nerves. Samantha, we'll see. I just never knew she was into Big first. Like I just not first. Technically it was Carrie, but I just never knew like she was into Big originally, like early in the season, trying to get him. But honey, first episode, if this was today, oh, good TV. Good TV. So I'm gonna need like somebody to come up with some other kind of show that's similar, because this is really good material. Like, can you believe it? Samantha is sleeping with Charlotte's date. Because he told her like this was cute, but I need some tonight, and you ain't putting out, so I'm gonna put you out. I had fun reviewing this. Next week, season 1, episode 2, we'll be back at it again, talking about the actual factuals with the gang. See you. Bye.